Hello, Year 3. We are now going to move on to our next lesson on multiplication. This lesson will be very similar to yesterday's, however, we are now going to start answering questions using our arrays and the grids that we created yesterday. So if you've not done the maths yesterday, you need to go back and watch that one before you watch this video and try to take part in this maths lesson. You must have done yesterday's lesson before you do this lesson. So, as we can see in front of us, we are going to be doing multiplication, and it's concrete. So that's the things that we can move around. So in school, it's our place value counters, concrete things we can touch, and it's the second part of it because today we're going to be answering questions. Our learning objective for today is to understand how to use arrays for multiplying 1-digit and 2-digit numbers. To be successful, you need to be able to explain the layout, you need to be able to list the steps when creating an array, and you also need to be able to answer questions using your grids. So, I'm now going to head over to my camera where I'm going to show you how to answer questions using our grids, and I'll see you over there. Okay guys, here I am back at my whiteboard with my pasta, ready to make some more arrays. I have got my grid in front of me that I used yesterday. If you did not do the lesson yesterday in maths, you must go back and watch that before you attempt anything that we do today, because yesterday I went over how to do the grid and what it means and how to lay it all out. Today we're going to be using our grid to complete some questions. So, just like yesterday, we are going to write our sum at the very top of above our grid. So let's do 2 times 16 today. Just like I said yesterday, if you want above it, you can label ones, tens and ones. And the very first thing that we do is we need to partition this number. So, or these numbers even. Our first one is very easy. Ones, 2 just means two ones, which is just 2. Our second number is split up into tens and ones, which is a 10 and 6 ones. So 16 is split into 1 10 and 6 ones. We've done so much of this, everyone should be able to do this really easily. So, we've now got our sum, we've partitioned, and now we're ready to put our numbers, our sum, into this grid. So, our smaller number goes at the sides, and we just go through the sum. So we've got 2 times 16. Now make sure that does look very much like a times sign, because that looks a little bit like an add sign, and that's not what we're doing. So you need to make sure it does look like a times sign. So 2, which is up here, times, which is here, 16, and we've partitioned this, so the 10 goes here, and the 6 goes in here. Now we are ready to create our 2 separate arrays, one in here and one in here. Our first array is 2 times 10, which goes in here. So 2 times 10 we know is 2 rows and 10 columns. So, 1 row, 2 rows, and now we've got our 10 columns. So our first one counts as 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh. You need to make sure these are as straight as possible and in line with one another. Because if they're not, it's not an array and you'll get mixed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Once you have completed your array, it's really important that you go back to check that what you have done, what you have created, is the correct thing. So 2 times 10 is 2 rows, so I've got 2 rows, and 10 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. They're in a straight line. They are in an array. They're not all messy all over in this box. It's so important that they are created like this, in 2 rows and in 10 columns, nice and straight. So that's our first one. Our second one is 2 times 6. So again, 2 rows, because that's our number at the side. Our first number, 2 times 6. 2 is our rows. 1, 2. So that's our first column. That's our second column. 3, 4, oops. 5, and 6. Okay, so I've got my 2 arrays that at the moment are separate, but we are going to bring them back together. So, this is where we're doing something a bit different. We're taking the next step from yesterday. So, 2 times 10. People should be able to do that. We should be able to do that. If not, you can count in tens. So you can go 10, 20, or you can count in twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So 2 times 10 is 20. Write that number underneath. 2 times 6. Again, we should know our 2 times tables in year 3. If you don't worry. You can count in twos again. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, so now we've got a 20 and a 12. And now we need to add them together. So 20 add 12. We should be able to do that as well. 20 add 12 is 32. Okay, and then we can just finish it off by doing 32 up at the top. So that's how we can solve arrays or use arrays to solve problems. I will go over in a second how to use a multiplication square, which might help a few people when we get to the trickier sums, because people can do 2 times 6, but when it gets to 3 times something or 4 or 5 times something, it might be a bit trickier. So I'm going to go over how to use a multiplication square, and you will find that at the bottom of the timetable page as well. Your task again today is to make the arrays on the attachment at the bottom of the timetable page, but then the step further is going to be actually solving these. So we did this bit yesterday without the bit at the bottom. Today we are now counting each array, adding them together to solve the problem. So I'm now going to show you how to use the 100 square. Okay, so here's my multiplication square. As you can see, we've got times tables down the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on this side. We've got 1 to 12 along the top as well. And this can really help you if you're not too sure of your times tables. This magic multiplication square can help you with any answer in your 1 times table all the way up to your 12 times table. So if we have got a sum, for example, 2 times 3, we know that answer is 6. But if you weren't too sure in that, this is how you use it. So 2 times 3, you find your 2 down the side. So 2 times 3, 2, which is here, and then you put your finger here next to it. And then on your other hand, you find the 3 at the top because it's 2 times 3, and you put your other finger here, and then you can run this finger along at the same time as the finger going down, and where they meet is the answer. So 2 times 3, so we've got 2 to the side and 3 right above it. So once you think you've got an answer, make sure that you've got 2 to the side and 3 to the top. So it's 2 times 3 is 6. Let's try another one, a trickier one that not many of us will be able to get really quickly. So let's go for 8 times 6. So we've got 8 at the side, put our finger next to it, 6 at the top, and run your finger along and down at the same time. So we have 8 times 6 is 48. Make sure once you're at an answer you double check. So 8 times 6, we've got 8 at the side, right? Good. And then 6 above. So 48. 8 times 6, 48. Perfect. So before we start using this, there we go, make it a bit bigger. Before we start using this, in the question for arrays, you might want to practice with this a little bit just to have a bit of fun. You might want to challenge your mums, dads, brothers, grannies, whatever, whoever you're with, to try it. So 5 times 8, so you go to 5, put your finger next to that, 8, put your finger above that, and then you go along and down at the same time. So 5 times 8 is 40. So just a little bit of practice, a little bit of fun. You can play a few games just to make sure and you know how to use this. And then when you come to arrays to solve the trickier questions, you can then use this multiplication grid. So I hope this helped. I will attach this at the bottom of the timetable.